Welcome into NBA Now. I'm Chase Sr. with Chat Sports, and we were live for like 5 hours breaking down all of the trades as they happened. Now let's get to some of the winners and losers on NBA trade deadline day. And I want to start with the Chicago Bulls. So news broke early that the Chicago Bulls made a massive deal, and they're a big winner because they traded for Nikola Vucevic, and this was a massive deal for Chicago. It kind of came out of nowhere. And now Vooch goes to a Bulls team that is budding and exciting and in the thick of things in the Eastern Conference playoff standings. So they get one of the premier centers in the league, and all they had to do was trade Wendell Carter Jr. away, who has some potential, Otto Porter, who's probably going to be a salary cap dump, and 2 first-round picks. And when you look at Vucevic's numbers, I mean, this has been one of the premier centers in the league for the last 5 to 7 seasons. He's been an elite player and a guy who is only under contract for like $22 million through 2022 and 23. So he's going to be on the Bulls for a while. What does this mean for the future of Lauri Markkanen, who's a restricted free agent after this season? Who knows, but bringing in Vooch, a great deal for Chicago, because as Billy Donovan kind of instills his culture in year one as head coach in Chicago, you have Zach LaVine, you have Kobe White, you have Lauri Markkanen, now Vooch. That's a solid young core to build around if they keep those players together. And Billy Donovan has this team playing well in spurts, in contention for an Eastern Conference playoff spot. And moving ahead, this is going to be one of the sneaky and exciting teams to follow in the NBA. That wasn't everything that Chicago did. They also received Daniel Theis and Troy Brown. Originally, we thought that they were going to bring in Mo Wagner from the Washington Wizards, but in addition to Vooch, they also bring in Daniel Theis as a depth piece at the center position for the Chicago Bulls, and I like that move for some front court depth. So tell me, hop into the comment section, who was the biggest trade deadline winner? You can comment below with a team or a player. Do that right now in the comment section. My next winner, the Denver Nuggets, another team that in the Western Conference, sitting at 5th place right now, making some strides after a slow start to the season after they had a miraculous bubble experiment led by Jamal Murray. And they go out there and make the second most noteworthy trade today, acquiring Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic. They traded away Gary Harris and RJ Hampton, as well as a 2025 protected first-round pick. They also brought in Gary Clark in that deal. And I've said this a couple of times on the channel. Aaron Gordon has been hidden in Orlando. He was drafted 4th overall out of Arizona. He was a very raw prospect coming out of college. He's developed his game over the last few years. He's around a 40% free throw shooter. He's uber athletic. When he's engaged, he can really defend. And I think he slides into that Denver Nuggets starting lineup and makes that team interesting in a wide open Western Conference playoff race, because we don't know what's going to happen with LeBron and AD. Another trade that the Nuggets made, they brought in some more front court depth, JaVale McGee, a rim-running athletic big to back up Nikola Jokic. This is also a move that I'm a big fan of. McGee, championship experience with the Lakers as well as the Warriors. And after Jokic, this is a Nuggets team that didn't really have much at the center position. They do now. My next winner on NBA trade deadline day, Victor Oladipo and the Miami Heat. Victor Oladipo turned down a contract extension from the Houston Rockets back a few weeks ago, and the Rockets needed to get something back. They don't get much in this trade, sending away Victor Oladipo. So the big winner here is Oladipo. He's going to be a free agent after this season. And when he's right, we're talking about a top 20, top 30 player. When he's right, he can be really good. And Victor Oladipo wanted to go to the Miami Heat, according to reports. And this is kind of a sneak peek of what Oladipo can do. And he's probably only been about 85, 90%. So as we take another peek at this trade, Oladipo goes to Miami. Rockets receive Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2022 first-round pick swap. I think clearly the Heat are winners because they are once again in contention as an Eastern Conference finalist potentially. Victor Oladipo is a big winner because he can probably re-sign with Miami, and the Heat get to put him into a player development factory, and Oladipo is really going to love that. Another trade that's also of note for the Miami Heat. They brought in Trevor Ariza a couple weeks ago. This is a guy who, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, hadn't played this year. He sat out because of personal reasons, but another nice bench piece for the Miami Heat as they start to get hot in the Eastern Conference. Also, Nemanja Bjelica, also on his way to the Miami Heat, okay? So you might be looking at his numbers and you might look at this deal and you're like, what does this do for the Heat? You know what it does? It gives them a front court option who can really stretch the floor, and he can knock down threes at a pretty consistent rate above league average. So Miami, they've been making noise over the last couple of weeks as they've gotten healthier, as Jimmy Butler has gotten back into the lineup. And now not only is their starting five really good with Oladipo, they have a pretty stacked bench. Another winner, the Dallas Mavericks. So they only made one deal of note. That's bringing in J.J. Redick. Yes, Redick is in his late 30s. He's at the tail end of his career. But J.J. Redick on this team, a perfect fit. He's a perfect leader, and his skill set is perfect for this team as currently constructed. I think this is the Dallas Mavericks making up for sending away Seth Curry and trading him away in exchange for Josh Richardson, who has not been good both on court and as a fit for this team. Yeah, J.J. Redick's going to be able to come off the bench. I think he's going to be rejuvenated a little bit. He's going to have some excitement to him as he goes to a Western Conference contender, and I think his numbers are going to improve from what you see there. So what will be the most impactful deadline trade? I think what the Miami Heat did was great. I think the Bulls' long-term ramifications, that could be the most impactful, but let me know what you think. Hop into the comment section and let me know. Let's get to some more trade deadline winners real quick. The Orlando Magic. Yes, they waved the white flag and they sold, but they are clearly rebuilding now, and they brought back a bunch of assets. They brought back a bunch of players. Here are the players that they dealt away. Vucevic, Al-Farouq Aminu, Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, and Gary Clark. Yeah, those are all solid players, but look at what the Magic brought back in. Some young assets that they can continue to build around, and we're not talking about first-round picks, which we'll get to here in a second. Wendell Carter, Otto Porter Jr. might get bought out. Gary Harris has shown potential. He landed a huge deal, hasn't lived up to that, but he can be good. And then R.J. Hampton, he's a first-round pick last year, okay? So hasn't gotten many minutes with the Denver Nuggets, but he has potential. And then in addition to these young pieces, you also have these draft assets that the Magic can use as they tank now, because that's what it is. It's a clear tank job. They can use these assets to bring in more players in the future. A first-round pick in 2021, a first-round pick in 2 years, another first-round pick in 2025, and 2 second-round picks moving forward. So subscribe to Chat Sports and our main YouTube channel. We were live for 5 hours breaking down all of these trades, and as news continues to come out, we're going to keep you updated here at Chat Sports. I think we gained more than 1,000 subscribers on our live show, so help us out. You also subscribe, add to that number, and hit that big red button down below. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's run through some trade deadline losers. I want to start off with Kyle Lowry. So Kyle Lowry and the Raptors are clearly rebuilding. Last night it looked as though Lowry was going to play his final game with the Raptors. He threw up the deuces to the cameras as he walked off the court. He paused his post-game presser when Drake FaceTimed him. It looked as though the face of the franchise was going to be on his way out. But now Kyle Lowry remains with Toronto, a team that is clearly rebuilding because they sent away Norman Powell, and he's going to be a free agent after this year. So the Toronto Raptors had an opportunity to get a haul back for Kyle Lowry. Instead, they hold on to him, and who knows what they do in the future if they don't get anything back and he walks. That was a clear loss for the Raptors, a clear loss for Kyle Lowry because he had the potential to go to the Lakers, the Sixers, or the Heat, and now he stays with a team that is really struggling. So let me know the biggest trade deadline loser. Hop into the comment section and let me know. I'm going to look at what you guys come up with, and I'm excited to see what you all have to say. The Golden State Warriors, another trade deadline loser for me. It was rumored for a while that the Golden State Warriors were going to be extremely busy, and they weren't. They didn't trade away Kelly Oubre. They didn't make a big splash. Yes, we knew that they were going to hold on to James Wiseman and that coveted top 3 protected Minnesota Timberwolves pick, but they didn't make any moves of note. Really, all they did was send away Brad Wanamaker to the Charlotte Hornets just to clear up some money for some luxury tax relief. So that's really all the Golden State Warriors did. They also sent away Marquise Chris and traded him away. I know Warriors fans have been high on him in the past. He's been inconsistent. He's been injured somewhat. He goes to the Spurs, and once again, that was all done to just clear up some financial room for the Golden State Warriors moving forward. Lastly, got to hit on the Houston Rockets, and I'm fired up about H-Town because they had James Harden, a generational offensive player, and they traded him away for basically nothing. Yes, they got some first-round picks, but they got no immediate value from James Harden. How is that possible? This is basketball malpractice, and the Houston Rockets are run by a bunch of bums. This is all that they got back from Victor Oladipo. They didn't get anything back really in the immediacy for James Harden, who's one of the best offensive players of all time. This franchise sucks. This franchise is a joke. And if you're a Houston fan right now, the last year and a half has been terrible. How are you even dealing with things right now? Hey, if I have to console you, let me know, hit me up, and I can give you some words of encouragement. But right now in this moment, the Houston Rockets, the biggest losers on NBA trade deadline day. I'm just spitting facts here. That's it. And if you don't like me spitting facts, you can give me a holler on Twitter or Instagram at Chase_Senior. I've had a lot of people slide into my DMs, and we've interacted a little bit. They've shared some trade ideas with me. Well, now that the trade deadline is passed, share some of your deadline thoughts with me. And if you don't like what I said about the Houston Rockets, let me know. I can take the heat, and I'll fire back with some more heat.